Kia ora koutou, ko Victoria McLennan Tokawinga, and I'm here today with Arun, who is one of the wonderful people who's been nominated for the IT Professionals Board this year. Hello, Arun. It's lovely for you to join me all the way from Singapore as well.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you. My pleasure.
And Arun is a Singapore-based IT professional, so fantastic that you are bringing that experience that you have from both Singapore and from Bangalore, where you lived before. So it'd be great to hear more about that as we talk through this. But my first question to you today is, what are you proud of?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of, I would say, especially from my personal life, is that for many years, I actually sponsored one of the underprivileged kids' education till the time he was able to graduate. So I sponsored, obviously, through the grace of God, and probably in a position to help somebody. I think that's something I'm actually most proud of. So I did that for many years till the time.
Lovely.
Till the time he was able to graduate. And I think I sincerely believe that's why I'm very close to education space, right? And especially in a country like India, education is one which can actually bridge the gap, and it's a great provides a person coming probably from not so privileged background as well as level playing field. So it creates those possibilities and opportunities. So and related to that as well, I also sponsored girls' child education as well. Those are probably two things I would say I'm most proud of.
Nice. Thanks for that. Now tell me what makes you happy.
I think this is also related to the first question, which is that if I'm able to contribute to community or a cause which is a bigger cause, I think that may not be necessarily related to only, as I mentioned, just work, but also which goes beyond and touches upon community in general. So I think that kind of association, the contribution in a meaningful manner, knowing that my efforts probably could bring that change or some change, hopefully, or at least positively impact somebody's life. I think that is something which gives me immense happiness. And second is with respect to my family. Obviously, I think spending time with my family, extended family, is another which I cherish as well. Because of work, I've been in different places, so I think it could be the context, but that's also something which I think these are probably two important things which with a lot of happiness. Yeah.
And help balance out our lives as well. So that's fantastic. Okay, down to a bit of the business end of it. In the written questions, we asked you to share how you think ITP can offer the most value to our community. Expanding on this, what do you see as the single most important thing that we as IT professionals need to be focusing on today?
Yeah. So I think obviously there if I take again a step back, right? I think there are two parts to that. So one is how do we? Because there are so many areas, and I've been an ITP member for more than a year. I've participated in as I probably got an invitation as well for Tech Chats Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I know there are associations with NZ Tech as well. So there are some initiatives already, right? So some of the experiences that I hopefully, if I'm given that opportunity, I can bring to the table also look at different pillars, I would say, right? So one pillar, for example, is citizen services, right? Citizen using technology, and obviously tied to that is also probably would be a set of problem or the areas. Like, for example, I know specific to New Zealand, waste management, beekeeping. So there are some areas, right, so which probably not be necessarily limited to one, but I think at a broad level. So idea is to also see if, there is that awareness, as well as a platform through which this ideation can happen. Looking at and I think same thing we did actually. I participated in that quite actively, which was looking at how we can empower more citizens, senior citizens, especially in Singapore, so that they can also benefit the technology, specifically when it comes to smart homes or home automation. Because I think we did a survey and we found out that probably in terms of their awareness, as well as from a digital literacy standpoint, is something that we probably can play a key role. So we started kind of that so I volunteered for that as well. So there are probably, that's what I would say, the first pillar. Second is obviously also in terms of for business standpoint, which is to also see that how do you widen the reach at the same time we go deep as well in terms of specific areas, emerging technology specifically. So there could be this cross-pollination across, which may go beyond New Zealand and not just gets restricted to New Zealand. And I think that's probably kind of it's a long-term thought process that at some point, since it's globalized, right? It's some of the ability to replicate as well as scale. Using technology that can actually solve problems, which can be, the solutions can be scaled using technology that go beyond this local community. So I think it's probably a mix of these two, I would say. Obviously, you can double click and then see what are the others. Yes, but yeah.
Nice. And so leading on from that, if you had a bottomless bucket of cash, what would you have ITP investing in to benefit either our members or the wider community, or Aotearoa New Zealand as a whole?
But actually, I got this question. I was actually thinking that, if I were to rephrase this question, right, it's not, it's not an exhaustive list, or probably also not mutually exclusive, right? I mean, it's it's not like either or, right? Obviously, the thing is about optimization, right? In sense, like, what are the optimal choices? And I think it's about also striking that balance as well, right? So on one hand, as a community, it becomes important that it is not just about because there are, to understand that there are the backgrounds, the motives, for example, the aspirations for different people. Sometimes there are differently. Like, for example, for somebody I know, it's also about lifelong learning, right? So idea is that, can community for the members provide that kind of opportunity wherein the members are able to bridge, and that's where I have some ideas, like using probably association with Coursera, LinkedIn Learning and things like that. There are different ideas there, but at a very high level, I think the first the bucket I would call is which is about how the community members are able to leverage and build some kind of lifelong continuous plan, both professionally as well. And second, I think community, with respect to community, that's where I just mentioned a few examples, like which was citizen services, delivery of services using technology, tackling problems which are of most concern to, first of all, obviously you start off with the local as well as pertaining to New Zealand, as I mentioned, waste management, beekeeping. There are areas and how technology can actually role also probably down to supply chain. And I know there has been some advances, in technology specifically being to address the changes, right? So the idea is also like, for example, sometimes just the collaboration standpoint, experiences that probably I've seen here in terms of how Singapore Computer Society and some of initiatives here, and how what kinds of initiatives probably would be something that technology can play a horizontal role. Verticals use cases could be different. So I think these are probably, I would say, two important pillars, which again, as I mentioned, it's not either or, right? I mean, has to play a role. And lastly, I was actually thinking about that as well, right? Which is that, organizations or companies or startups in technology, which can actually scale as well as the world. I think that would be great as well, right? Why does it need to be only, how can become tech hub, for example, or tech hub for some of those, use cases, which are, as I mentioned, at a broad level, which everybody is now talking about, let's say climate change, etc. But what do you do in those areas, technology? So yeah, I mean, it could be, a 5-year, for example, roadmap there as well.
Right.
So these are, I would say, two, three important pillars, in my opinion. Need to obviously optimize and see where we spend those efforts. I mean, how we actually kind of efforts as well, because your monetary aspect is one part, but I think the greatest change, probably in my opinion, comes when people feel that they're contributing to something which goes beyond just their own personal interests, right? So that's why I said that I think so that kind of would be really important, and I think probably that's an ideal state. We always, I personally believe, so always aspire much higher, much bigger, and then see where we actually land up, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing those great ideas. Really, really appreciate them. It's been lovely to meet you, and I'll let you get back to your day. So, ka kite, bye.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Be speaking with you today. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to. Thank you very much.